All right, I'm taking like 30 seconds before we start this video to talk about the Resampled website. We've got a blog. We're selling sample packs now, 15 bucks. Not a bad deal. This one's the new one, Bias. It's a bunch of live drums recorded down to tapes and other weird outboard stuff. We have a blog where you'll find a bunch of like readable versions of these videos. And we also have a online record store where you can find some pretty dope samples. All right, so I know your timeline has probably been absolutely bomb with MPC sample content, so I'm not going to go through it because there's like a million other videos where you can find the specs of the machine. I'm just going to sample a bunch of stuff and use it, talk about it. So I figure that's the best way. All right, so who's this for? Which is a really, really good question. In my experience, I've only had it a day. I'm not a MPC shill that gets free units sent to them so that I can give Akai watch time. I went out and bought this today because it was available at the Guitar Center near my house. I will say the first thing off the bat that I didn't notice in any of the promo material. I thought it only had 2 banks of 16 pads when it in fact has 8. Sampling works as you'd expect, but to be 100% honest, this is very, very SP404 coded. It works, in my opinion, almost the same way I would use an SP404, kind of like a wave sampler where you're pulling samples, you're randomly messing around with stuff. I like to pull a lot of breaks off of vinyl, so it works well for that. You can loop pads, you can chop pads up, you can do pretty much anything you can do on a larger MPC or a different sampler unit. I will say the first thing I noticed is that it's absolutely tiny. Like, promo stuff didn't do it justice with how small it is, but that's a normal size record. This is the machine. It's smaller than a record, which is like tiny. However, the big comparison I think is going to be between this and the SP404 Mark II. The SP404 has been out for a lot longer, so it's not really that good of a comparison. They've definitely added a bunch of features to the SP404, and I'm excited to see what Akai does with this because it is a cool platform. After playing with it for a day, I wish they would release this OS so I could put it on my MPC Live, which I haven't done a video on because I think the MPC Live is the most uninspiring sampler. It's just incredibly unfun to use. Like, if I'm gonna do all of that they want you to do in the new MPC Lives, I'm gonna do it in Ableton and I'm gonna do it faster and with less constraints. That being said, if I could get this OS and put it on my MPC Live too, I'd probably be really happy with it. The speaker, small, tinny, it works. I wouldn't rely on it for mixing. I do like the multi-purpose fader. That's a very teenage engineering thing. Like the KO 133, I really liked the fader and how you could do little adjustments with it. I will say though, against the SP404, one of the things I noticed with the MPC Sample is that it was incredibly easy to just pick up and use. If you have any background in anything like this, or even if you don't, I feel like this machine would be really easy to get your head around. There's not a lot of menu diving. Everything's pretty much marked on the top part of the case where the pads are, and it's just generally easy to like get to grips with and get rolling on stuff. I also really messed with the tilted screen. I thought I would hate it. I thought it was kind of corny in the promo pictures, but it does help if you, like I, have previous neck injury, so it's really nice to get the slanted screen. Makes it a little easier to see. Not to keep comparing it to the SP404, but what I will say is even though the pads on this unit are tiny, they're actually really fun to play and they're super responsive. They're way more responsive than I thought they would be. I like how it has flex beat built into it, so you can do some of like the DJ stutter effect type stuff, which is always cool. The per pad effects are pretty awesome as well. I like the compressor. They have a master compressor in here, which is really nice. I'm really interested to see if they're gonna write some kind of app for this to allow you to like dump programs or dump samples out, kind of like the SP404 Mark II app. It would be really useful, and I hope they don't drop the ball on it, because one of the things that infuriates me about Akai is they had the MPC desktop software that you could run as a plugin, but the MPC3 desktop software, so if you updated your MPC Live or Live 2 or whatever you have to use desktop MPC3, which cannot run as a plugin. So therefore, you can't dump your projects to individual tracks in a DAW, which I think is mad stupid. And to be honest, it's what's keeping me from using the stupid MPC Live and MPC Live in a Force. I don't use either of them, because what's the point if I have to sit there and hit explode or whatever stupid thing they want me to do with it? I just want to plug it in, put it in Ableton as a DAW, route all my audio to where it goes, and then I'm done. I can get it out of there, I can add stuff, I can mix it the way I want to. I refuse to mix projects on that terrible touchscreen with a stylus like it's 2013. I'm not doing it. However, this machine is giving me like a completely different vibe. I actually bought this at 3 o'clock today. I've been playing with it since it's now 2 in the morning. I've had a great time just putting samples in it and messing around with it and sampling off my phone. The sampling off your phone works great. I know the Roland stuff can do, I think, everything in the under 500 tier of samplers can do sampling off the phone. But it is really nice. So if you want to stem something, or if you want to isolate some sound, you can just fire up Koala, split the stems, and sample the stem you want right into the MPC sample. It works flawlessly. The battery life is also really nice. I've had it running off the charger for about 4 hours now. And granted, most of it, like this time, it's just been sitting there while I'm putting this video together, but it still has a green battery indicator, so that's really nice. Super portable. Going back to the fact that it's ultra small. Its inputs and outputs are pretty simple too. It's got stereo in, stereo out. It's also got MIDI in and out, and sync. And there's a little headphone jack on it too. I think the only thing that puzzles me about it is this wrist rest situation. Maybe it's just because I have massive hands, but I probably am never going to use that wrist rest. I guess it's cool, it's nostalgic looking. Like, if I only used the 404 and didn't like collect this stuff to make videos about it, honestly, I probably would have stuck with the 404. Am I glad I bought this? Yeah. Do I think there's anything wrong with it? No. I think it's a pretty good machine for the money. Like, would it kind of like ranking? I would take this definitely over the Teenage Engineering KO133. This is just a lot more robust in the way it does things, and the pads are super playable. I would take the SP404 over this, but I do also see how they could really be a really, really good combination together to throw loops back and forth. I'm actually going to do some traveling, little road trip in the next couple days, so I'm going to take this with me and do a little field test, I guess, with it. I did try out the microphone a little bit, and I think it's actually really good. I noticed that you get a lot of click from like buttons or whatever's being touched on the machine, but I mean, that's to be expected with a microphone built into the chassis like that. I know there's like a lot of negative stuff on the internet, especially in Facebook groups, which is kind of why I stay out of Facebook groups, about the who's this for? Why are they making this product? Bottom of the line for me, it's definitely not for me. I have 20 machines in this room alone that can do what this thing does. What I will say is it made making a beat fun again on an Akai product, which was really nice. It did remind me a lot of some of the old ways to do things. I could definitely see myself grabbing this over my MPC Live to start putting some ideas down. But then again, I will do literally anything to not touch my MPC Live after the 3.7 update. Again, I'm not really trying to like glaze Akai. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they've done in the past year has been greedy as shit, specifically selling the Pro Pack. Taking features away from machines and then selling the Pro Pack was a pretty heinous thing in my eyes. But I will say, there is a market for this. It's for people, like, if you want to have fun, if you're exploring. I could see beginners getting really into this. It gives you more tactile feel than something like Koala, but people who use Koala could be, I think, up and running with this thing in 15 minutes because it's so very similar to all those types of workflows. So what I would say, I mean, who am I to tell you how to spend your money? But like, if you were looking for a sub $500 sampler that was portable, this would be a pretty good pick. Like, especially if you didn't want to spend the $499 for an SP404, which I totally get. All in all, not a bad purchase, perfectly functional. The sampler part of it's great. It's got like envelopes and all the other stuff that you would expect from a sampler. You can loop, you can warp. It really reminds me of an SP, like a lot, with way better pads. In my opinion, they're better. I feel like they're more sensitive and accurate, which is a little surprising, which is different than what I thought when I pulled it out and I saw these microscopic Roland Phantom sized pads. Buried deep in there is some pretty cool emulations too. They have a vinyl sim, there's tape emulation, and then they have like a classic MPC emulator, which in my opinion sounds really good once you run it into like that master compressor. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I was expecting to hate this when I got it, and I kind of bought it on a whim, but I dig it. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep making stuff on it. It's pretty fun. Thanks again for checking out the video. If you made it this far, I just wanted to kind of do like a chill conversation type thing. Thinking about doing some live streams soon. Also, we did just put up that new fancy website, which has drum packs for sale, vinyl for sale, and you can get there's a link to our Bandcamp as well, so if you want to buy any music. There's going to be t-shirts up there soon, and we're going to expand the record store because I have like piles and piles of vinyl. So thanks again. Always, it's all love. Peace.